welcome back to the Andrew and Ian Show. I'm Andrew Sorwick here again with Ian. Hi, Ian. How you doing this evening, man? Tough night so far for Detroit sports.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's making me want to go out and find some alcohol right now. Tigers lost, Wings just absolute abysmal performance right now. But happy to get this rolling at least. Take my mind off everything.
Yeah, we can talk about the one team that won't make us depressed this year, in a little bit, because both of our college teams are making us depressed. So we only have one team here that's going to make us not depressed, and that's the Lions. We'll talk about that soon, but let's just get right into it. Obviously, we have Thursday night football going on right now. Seahawks hosting the Niners. Niners leading 16-3 at halftime. Um, Niners came into this game a 3.5 point favorite, which is very surprising considering all the injuries that the Niners still have. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey being out, and I think he might be out for the rest of the season. The way things are going for him, and they're a pretty beat up team. But we were just talking about this pre-show. The Niners or the Lions, I mean, broke the Seahawks because they looked like ass against the Giants, and now they're looking like straight up ass against the Niners that just lost to the fucking Cardinals. I was gonna pick the Niners to win this game, regardless. I would not pick them to cover, but the way things are going, looks like they're gonna cover now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was with you on this one. I would take the Niners beforehand just because the past few weeks, what we've seen from the Seahawks, I mean, Geno lit up the Lions secondary for I think it's still the most passing yards. No, Kirk Cousins has the most now with 509. Sorry. But yeah, he still had one of the highest passing yards against the Lions. And then, failed to beat the Giants and now you're down 13 points going into halftime against a sub CMC Niners team. And I mean, we've seen time and time again this, 49ers team is pretty incapable of winning when they, don't have Debo Samuel or Christian McCaffrey. And last week they had Debo Samuel and they still lost. The reason they lost, they didn't incorporate him. Now, looking at the stats at halftime already, 2 receptions, 87 yards, and a touchdown for Debo. Infinitely better stat line than last week already. And look where it's gotten them so far. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think the Niners are going to win. Then it's looking like they're going to cover. I had them to not cover. I had a really close game, like a 1 to 2 point game, but 3.5 no. Like I could see a field goal, but 3.5 is a stretch.
yeah, it looks like they're gonna cover now. I'd have picked the Niners to win, just not cover that 3.5. But here the fuck we are. NFL, can we please stop going to London and can we just stop playing games in Europe, please? It's just no one's watching these games. The Bears and the Jaguars, they're over in London. Bears as the home team. They are just a 1 point favorite in this game. And honestly, I think that's a little disrespectful to the Bears defense. Just because the Jaguars offense blows. I mean, they looked pretty good against the Colts last week, but the Colts defense isn't all too put together right now. They're pretty banged up. Um, but the Bears defense we know is good. And not only that, but Caleb Williams is now, back-to-back games with 300 yards. He's starting to settle in, and he's looking really good. I'm taking the Bears to win, and they obviously cover a 1 point spread because it's kind of impossible to not. But I expect the Bears to put up at least win by at least 10 in this one. I mean, the Jags they suck, man. That offense is awful. And again, they looked good last week, but again, it's against the Colts defense, which is okay, and it's banged up, which is bad, and yeah, and I feel like the Bears defense is gonna eat and maybe get in on the scoring as well in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that 1 point spread to Chicago is real disrespectful to that Bears defense. I mean, we've seen what they can do, and the first few weeks and the first few wins of the season for the Bears, they really carried. I mean, we had a game where they were playing the U of M style of football, where Caleb Williams had like 90 yards passing or something like that. And they won that game because of the defense. Now here we are, and like you said, and it's another London game. I'm sick of this, and I'm especially sick of seeing the Jaguars of all teams getting these London games. But I think, like you said, the Bears are really capable because of that defense to win this game by 10 or more, because that defense is almost all but guaranteed to get you a turnover and maybe even a score off of that.
Yeah, you would expect this defense to eat up Trevor Lawrence and get a pick six in this one just because they're good and Trevor Lawrence's ass. The Patriots host the Texans. The Texans, a 6.5 point favorite in this one. This is going to be an interesting game, I think. No Mixon, or not Mixon. Shit. No Nico Collins is out, but the running back's also out. This is going to be a test for Justin Fields to really go out there and prove he is that dude. And I think he is. It's a tough spot because, look, it's the Patriots. They suck. Their defense is not that great. But this is a prove it spot for C.J. Stroud in this game. Can he, without two of his biggest weapons, and obviously his biggest weapon with Nico Collins being out, can you go out there and put up a great performance against a bad Patriots team? And I think he can. I'm going to pick Houston to win. I am going to pick them to cover that 6.5 as well. It's going to be a stretch to cover that, but I think they can do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at this, and yeah, like you said, Nico Collins is out. I I have full confidence in Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell to pull up the big boy shorts, and they're gonna ball out. We all know Stephon Diggs. He wants the ball. He's gonna make his case for to have the ball thrown to him. But Tank Dell, man, out of nowhere for Houston, crazy good. So you always got to watch him. But C.J. Stroud, we know he can sling it. And like you said, the Patriots are not the Patriots of old. And I think Houston can win this game by a touchdown, and that would have them covered.
Yeah, I think Stroud is gonna need those guys to step up this season because again he's without his number one running back and he's without his number one target, so he's got to figure it out. Without those two weapons. The Ravens host the Commanders. The Ravens, a 6.5 point favorite in this one. Look, the Ravens have gotten better since the start of the season. Start of the season looked really rough for them. Commanders on the flip side, though, they've been really, really good so far to start the year. Baltimore's a very, very, very tough place to play in. Very tough place to play in as an opposing team. I think the Ravens will win this game. I do think that Washington is going to struggle a bit against that Ravens defense offensively. Defensively, they've been good enough, but this Ravens offense is good. And on paper, Washington's defense really isn't. So I'm going to go with Baltimore to win. I am going to go with them to cover as well. On the flip side of that, though, I think the Commanders could be sneaky in this game, but I just don't realistically see that happening.
See, right now, I'm playing the schedule game. Because right now, both Baltimore and the Commanders have a common opponent in the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Commanders beat the Bengals 38-33. And we all know what Baltimore did against the Bengals last week, right? They won 41-38 because shitty hold. And now you have a chance, if you're Baltimore, to really prove yourself that you're really coming back. You started off rough. You lost back-to-back weeks, and especially that loss to the Raiders. That's something you really didn't want to see. Especially coming off like a literal inches loss in Arrowhead. But now you have a chance. I think this is going to be a boat race. This is going to be a really close game. Especially if Jaden Daniels keeps playing like he has, completing like 80% of his passes and not turning over the ball. I think Washington can more than capably, play themselves into this game, and I don't think they walk away with the win, but I don't think Baltimore covers either. I think Baltimore will win this because it is a hard place to play in. But right now, Washington's flying high.
Yeah, but the thing is with Washington, they haven't really played any super good defenses. And while the Ravens' defense isn't, I would say, super good, they're a lot better than a lot of the defenses that the Commanders have faced. And that's where I'm just like, are the Commanders overinflated? We're gonna find out, very very quickly here in this game. If the Commanders really were just beating up on bad defenses. And like I said, the Ravens defense isn't bad, but this is the best defense that the Commanders will face so far this year. The Eagles host the Browns. The Eagles, a 9.5-point favorite in this one. And look, the Eagles have struggled this year. Sirianni's on the hot seat for sure. But this team is a lot more talented than anything that the Browns have. The defense for the Browns sucks. Deshaun Watson is stinky poo-poo garbage. I mean, he is probably the worst quarterback in the league right now. I mean, he cannot do anything. And yeah, they don't have any weapons either offensively to really use. Give me the Eagles to win. I don't know about covering because, again, the Eagles have been sloppy this year. They've played a lot of stupid games this year. They've lost stupid games this year. And again, Sirianni's on the hot seat, but if he wants to keep his job, you got to cover this game. But I don't think the Eagles are going to cover. They're going to come close, but I'm still taking the Eagles to win, just not to cover that 9.5.
Yeah, I think 9.5 is it's pretty big, but again, this Cleveland team is not good whatsoever. I mean, Deshaun Watson, like we've been saying, that man would rather touch people non-consensually than complete a pass at this point or throw a touchdown. It's really disheartening if you're a Browns fan because we saw what Joe Flacco did with this team, and obviously Deshaun Watson isn't Joe Flacco, but Joe Flacco got him into the playoffs, and right now you're sitting at 1-4, and you're in the same situation as the Bengals. You're not really looking into making the playoffs right now at 1-4, and 1-5 is an even deeper hole. So yeah, I think Philly wins this game. At 9.5 is a stretch, but because Cleveland isn't great, I can see them winning by 10 simply because I can see Philly's defense getting a stop or two that, Cleveland shoots themselves in the foot as well.
Yeah, I just the Eagles have been so mid this year that it's just like they don't even look good against bad teams, and it's just like I can't trust them against a very bad Browns team to cover that 9.5. I think that's just such a stretch there, especially in this league, anyways. But yeah, the Packers host the Cardinals. The Packers a 4.5-point favorite in this one. Look, Arizona, nice win last week over San Francisco. They looked pretty good, although Marvin Harrison Jr. looked like he did the first game of the season, where he's just non-existent, not a threat at all. Also, Kyler Murray on those runs, man. I swear to, like, his helmet is just way too big for his body. It's like watching a bobblehead run. It's just that bad. But,
It is really amusing.
Like
yeah, it's more entertaining than the game more often than that.
His tiny little body and that big ass helmet on his head is just like bouncing up and down. It's just the funniest thing ever.
Pig head mode on in real life.
Yeah, exactly. But the Packers have struggled this year. Jordan Love, since coming back from injury, hasn't really looked all too great. And that's kind of where this leads me. Green Bay, they're favored by the Devil's number. I am going to take the Cardinals to win this game. I feel like if they could get Marvin Harrison going in this game, going early, and get the Pack in a hole, they can very easily win this game. On the flip side, I can also see the Packers just doing the Packers thing and beating the crap out of the Cardinals. But I like the Cardinals in this one. I really, really do.
Yeah, you s- like you said, it's the devil's number there. I think I'm gonna take Green Bay. Like as of right now, Xavier McKinney on the defense there, he's got a turnover per game. I think he's got a pick per game even. That man is absolutely balling out. And if you want to get Marvin Harrison Jr. going, you got to get through him. And if I'm Kyler Murray, I don't even want to throw his way, right? Like if he's he's absolutely balling, and as an NFC North rival, I don't like that. Knowing that we got to play them twice, I don't like it. And the fact I'd much rather see him get it out in the year now. I think he's good for at least a pick in this game, but I don't know if Green Bay covers this one. The Cardinals playing some really good ball. They did just beat the 49ers. I mean, they played the Lions close-ish. They lost by a score, but started the season with a close loss to the Bills and a blowout win against the Rams, but that's, about as good as beating a high school team at this point. But the only real bad loss right now is against the Commanders, so give me Green Bay to win it, but not cover.
The Saints host the Bucks. The Bucks, a 3.5 point favorite in this one. And look, the Saints started off the year really, really strong. Offensively, they were high flying. They were the best offense in the league. And now they've just dropped three straight. They haven't looked themselves, um, you know, and it's just gotten to a point with the Saints where it's just like, okay, I can't really trust this team anymore. I thought maybe they could be sneaky, fighting in the NFC South this year, but I don't think that's going to happen anymore. Tampa Bay is just a much better team. Baker Mayfield's certainly having a great year so far this year. He's been very, very efficient with the ball. You'd like to see his touchdown numbers up a little bit more, but he's already thrown 11 touchdowns in 5 games. And, he had a great game last week against Atlanta. It's just Kirk Cousins had, like, an elite level game that we've never seen Kirk Cousins do before. So yeah, give me the Bucks to win. Give me the Bucks to cover that 3.5. I think they can easily win this by a touchdown, maybe even more than that. The Saints defense not very good, and the offense just hasn't looked right since week 2.
Yeah, I am also going to take the Bucks and they cover. I believe Derek Carr is not starting this game for the Saints. I think it's Spencer
Yes,
Rattler.
yes,
So
Rattler
I
is
am
starting.
very comfortable with the state of the Tampa Bay defense. I'm very comfortable taking Tampa Bay and having Baker Mayfield just have a day. It's a 3.5 point. I can see Tampa winning this one by a score or more, but 3.5 I think is an easy enough in the NFL cover for the Bucks this week.
The Titans host the Colts. The Titans are a 2.5 point favorite in this one, surprisingly. Well, actually, it's not all too surprising. I mean, the Colts are banged up as hell. I don't know. I know Anthony Richardson, he's out still. Jonathan Taylor's doubtful. Michael Pittman Jr., he's doubtful. So, yeah, it's the Colts are beat up. But so are the Titans. Um, Joe Flacco's looked pretty decent so far in the 2 games that he's played. I'm going to take the Colts to win this one. I think the Colts, while they are beat up as hell, the Titans are so bad, man. Even though, yes, the Titans are also beat up pretty good, I feel like the Colts still have somewhat of an advantage here, but I can see Tennessee winning this game here. But I am gonna go with the Colts pulling off the upset here. This is gonna be a shit show game. This might be toilet bowl of the week worthy.
Yeah, I'm right with you there. I think this might be toilet bowl of the week worthy, just because it's a lot, two banged up teams, and it's a division rivalry, and it's one of those Southern divisions that love to eat themselves up. So I think I will take the Colts in this one. I like the veteran presence of Joe Flacco, and he did look good in replacement of Anthony Richardson last week. So I think he's more than capable of beating this Titans team, who, with Will Levis at quarterback, is more likely to give you a viral meme than he is to actually win you the game.
Yeah, every week Will Levis gives us two things: an interception and a meme. It's just nonstop for him. Yeah, I think this game can go either way, but I just think the Colts have a slight edge. Vegas disagrees, and yeah, maybe. The Broncos host the Chargers. The Chargers, a 3-point favorite in this one. Very surprising that the Chargers are actually favored in this game. But Justin Herbert should be back. He's listed as questionable, so yeah, he'll definitely be back. I think the Chargers might be able to do some damage here, but Bo Nix, just like Justin Fields, the last two games he's looked a lot better. Doesn't have not Justin Fields, Caleb Williams. They've both looked better over the last two games. Now Williams has better numbers than Bo Nix, but Bo Nix has, for all intents and purposes, looked pretty damn solid the last two games. I don't know about the status of Joe Alt for the Chargers, and that's where I'm kind of questioning things. But you know what? If he's healthy, I'm going to go with the Chargers to win, and they cover that 3, I think. We know that the Chargers' run game is good. The Broncos' run defense, meh. So yeah, give me the Chargers to win and cover that 3.
Yeah, I mean, I like you said, the Broncos have been playing pretty well as of late. My issue is, like you said, if Justin Herbert is in and he's playing, he is a better quarterback than Bo Nix. And the Broncos offense is pretty meh. I mean, they put 34 up against the Raiders. That's okay. They scored, what was it, like 30 against the Bucks earlier in the year. Something like that. It was like 26-7. So they have the potential to do it, but the defense really has to be there for the Broncos for them to win this game. And I think the Chargers are, going to do just enough between Justin Herbert, J.K. Dobbins to find a way to win. And is it going to be a cover? I don't know, because the Broncos have momentum right now. They have been playing well, and the Chargers started off hot and haven't been playing that great as of late. But I do think the Chargers will end up covering this one by at least a field goal.
The Raiders host the Steelers. Where is it? The Steelers, a 3-point favorite in this game. Aiden O'Connell named the starter for the Raiders over Gardner Minshew. Not surprising, since Minshew has been dog ass. But I don't think O'Connell's gonna get you anywhere better. But he might be somewhat better than Minshew is right now. But look, the Steelers' offense, I compared them to last year's Iowa Hawkeyes, and they just can't score. Justin Fields is dog ass. He really truly is. Steelers' defense is great. The Raiders' offense blows. Give me the Steelers to win this one in a very low-scoring game.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one that has potential for a toilet bowl game, and it's just, I'm with you. I think the Steelers find a way to win this one, and they covered, and it's just because the Raiders aren't good. Their QB situation is terrible. Like, they might be better off signing some random dude off the street in the strip, Like, at this point, Aiden O'Connell's not good, and he was named the starter. Gardner Minshew has more picks than touchdowns, and that's not a good situation. The Steelers almost beat the Cowboys, and the Cowboys aren't great, but the Cowboys are better than the Raiders. I think this is, the Steelers get back on track this week, and it's another win to help Mike Tomlin potentially have or continue that 500-plus season streak.
The Cowboys host the Lions. The Lions, a 3-point favorite in this one. It opened up at 3.5. It's dropped down to 3. The Cowboys have never started the season 0-3 at home in their history. And I think that's going to change. I think the Lions are just a much, much better team. The offense certainly is. Dak Prescott has not looked all too great this year. The defense for Dallas also not looking all too hot. And that's where it's just like I think if Detroit can just get out to a very nice hot start in the first half, it's over for Dallas. Micah Parsons is listed as questionable. If he plays, I think Dallas might have some hope in this game, but not a lot. If he doesn't play, though, the Lions are going to win no problem.
Yeah, this is the game I've had my eye on since the schedule released. Lions are back in Jerry World. And like you said,
For
Dallas hasn't.
the fifth or sixth time in a row, mind you.
They're never coming to Detroit, let's be real.
Yeah, last time that they did, last time they came to Detroit, they lost to Detroit. So, and Calvin Johnson put up like 300 yards on them too.
Shocker. But yeah, like you said, Cowboys have never started 0-3 at home. I think that changes. The Seahawks were 6-0 against Detroit, including in the playoffs coming into this season. We saw what happened there. Jared Goff threw a perfect game, literally. Dallas Cowboys. I hate to say it, Detroit wins and they cover. They win by a score.
The Panthers host the Falcons. The Falcons a 6-point favorite in this one. Look, if Kirk Cousins plays like he did last week, it's going to be a blowout win for the Falcons. Give me the Falcons to win and cover. The Panthers blow. They're a far worse team than Tampa Bay. And if Kirk Cousins can keep playing at the rate he's been playing the last 3-4 weeks now, yeah, it's good night for the Panthers. Give me the Falcons to win. Give me the cover. The Falcons defense is also really good, and the Panthers offense is, well, the Panthers offense.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best. If Kirk Cousins keeps throwing for 509 yards every game, good night to every single team in the league, right? But we all know the Panthers are not a good team. They were able to get one win on the season, which, I mean, so far, it seems that some teams struggle to get a win. Their win was against the Raiders. And I mean, since then, they've lost two straight. So maybe it's not all just Bryce Young's fault. But point is, Carolina's not a good team. Atlanta's going to win, and they're going to cover.
Sunday night football. Why is this? Why is this a game? This is so awful. The Giants host the Bengals. Boy, that's a matchup. That is certainly that's one of the matchups of all time. Cincinnati favored by 3.5 here. Look, the Giants looked good against Seattle last week. In fact, they looked really good. And we touched on it on Tuesday's episode. Seattle's defense made Daniel Jones look like he was competent as a quarterback, which is very interesting. And the Bengals, they blow. They do. This is going to be, I think, maybe not a low-scoring affair. I think the Bengals can win and cover that 3.5. I can't trust the Giants to have another offensive performance like that again. So yeah, give me the Bengals to win. Give me the Bengals to cover. As much as they suck, I can see them also losing this game, just because they do suck, and it doesn't make sense why they suck, but they do, because they're 1-4, and with all that talent, they're 1-4. But here the fuck we are. But I think they'll at least get back in the win column this week. And if they don't, right off the season, Cincy fans.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have told me, if I was the schedule maker after I made this game, that the Giants would have more wins than the Bengals in this matchup, I would have laughed in your face. But, yeah, here we are. And granted, the Bengals have had some close calls. I mean, they barely lost to the Chiefs. They bad snap or bad hold away from kicking a game-winning field goal. Instead, it goes, you know, it misses and they go the other way, and Justin Tucker hits the game winner. But yeah, I think Cincinnati is a better team than the Giants, but so were the Seahawks. And the Seahawks, I just think the Seahawks were broken by Detroit, and that's why the Giants were able to get to them. Now, granted, we could just be writing off the Giants, but I do think Cincinnati wins and they do cover. I think they can win this one by a touchdown, but they have to play a good, clean game.
Yeah, and that's the problem, right? Is just, can they win or play a good, clean game? Uh, and I guess we're just gonna have to find out this weekend. And then Monday Night Football, we got the Jets hosting the Bills. The Bills, a 2.5 point favorite in this one. Jets, obviously, without their head coach Robert Saleh, um, as he's been fired this week. The Bills have struggled as of late, though. But the Jets' offense has Nathaniel Hackett, running them. So, and the Bills' defense isn't necessarily that good. I think the Bills win. I think they cover. And yeah, I can't trust the Jets now without an actual head coach. So, right off the season for them, give me the Bills and to win and cover.
Yeah, something I didn't actually know, but the Jets also stripped Nathaniel Hackett of play calling abilities. So, granted, I don't think that changes much. The Jets have not been playing well. They haven't been scoring points, and I mean, you can chalk that up to you know offensive coordinator calling plays. But if you're a quarterback, you can call an audible, right? Change the play. So if you don't like the look, and Aaron Rodgers, you're a veteran quarterback. You know that you ran that team in Green Bay, and you know that you can run this team in New York, and that's what they're paying you to do. So just do it. You know, you're a veteran. If you don't like the play call an audible. If you see something in the defense, that's what you're supposed to do, right? That's like the whole point of the audible. So I mean, you'd think a veteran could, potentially start doing that, but I understand, there's a certain, aspect of saying, you know, hey, don't undermine your, OC or your head coach. But like I said, if there's a situation and as a veteran player that like you can execute if you do this certain thing better, then by all means. And now here the Jets are without a head coach and an OC. But I don't think it's going to be enough to win. It is a divisional matchup, but I think the Bills will win and they'll cover.
Moving on now to college football, your top 25 matchups this week, and we've got a pretty interesting slate of games. We'll start off here tomorrow night. Arizona State, 4-1 on the year, and I don't think anyone had them 4-1 to start the year. Arizona State hosts number 16 Utah. Utah a 5.5 point favorite in this one. I haven't kept up with Utah in the last couple weeks just because I've been so busy trying to look at other things college football wise, and I haven't been on top of college football like I've been to. So I don't know if Cam Rising is back yet, but I like Utah's team a lot. I've been high on them all year, even to start the year. I still think they can win the Big 12 this year despite that one loss, embarrassing loss to BYU. I think Utah will win this game. I think they will cover. I know it's the Devil's number, but I just can't trust Arizona State enough, I think, in this matchup against Utah, who has a far more talented roster. Now, if Cam Rising is out still, then maybe Arizona State might be able to at least have a chance. But if Cam Rising is in, yeah, good luck.
Yeah, I'm with you. Healthy Cam Rising is one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, and he is capable of piloting this Utah offense into just a dominating beast. So if he's playing, I'm taking Utah to win and cover. If he's not playing, I think Utah can still win, but it's going to be a lot easier time for Arizona State.
Number 7, Alabama hosts South Carolina. Bama, a 21-point favorite. Um, obviously tough, embarrassing even loss to Vandy on the road last week. This team's going to be looking to bounce back against a South Carolina team that is they're not bad this year. I think they've played better than we've expected so far. Again, we're only we're heading into week 7 now. And South Carolina's only played 5 games. Same with Bama, but I think Bama will get things right in this game. I don't think they cover that 21 though. I think South Carolina is a lot better than Vegas is giving credit here for. And again, Bama just came off an emotional loss, so that's going to be playing on their mind, I think, a little bit, and that's why I think Bama just won't cover that 21. They'll blow out South Carolina, just I don't think they'll cover a 21-point spread here.
Yeah, I agree. I think South Carolina is a better team than losing by 21 points to Alabama. Now, granted, it is possible that they just shit the bed and lose, but the one game I'm really looking at right now is they beat Kentucky 31-6. And Kentucky played Georgia to the ropes, and I believe they were the team that beat Ole Miss, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Kentucky did beat Ole Miss.
So, if you can beat the brakes off Kentucky like that, and Kentucky can hold off and even upset some of these top SEC contenders, and you saw Vandy beat Alabama, like you literally just saw the impossible happen. I can see South Carolina coming out and hanging around until the third quarter late, but I think Alabama does win this one. They will not cover that 21.
Yeah, look, like I said, I think South Carolina's a lot better than given credit for this year, and rightfully so. I mean, they've played some very, very good games so far. Wake Forest hosts number 10 Clemson. Clemson a 20.5-point favorite in this one. Clemson's been on a roll since that week 1 embarrassment to Georgia earlier this year, and Wake Forest blows. Give me Clemson to win. Give me Clemson to cover, man. I mean, they have been steamrolling teams since losing to Georgia. And again, like I said, Wake Forest is ass. So, yeah, give me Clemson to win and cover that 20.5.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, Clemson has just been dominant. I mean, this is the Clemson team we've, you know, been missing, right? And I mean, granted, with the expanded playoffs now, they're sitting at 4-1 on the season. If you win the ACC, you were probably at least in, a 14 playoff conversation with just that one loss. Especially now considering that Alabama has one loss. You might have a Big Ten champion with one loss, so because Oregon and Ohio State have to play, and they might play each other in the Big Ten championship. So the playoff picture, if you still had a 14 playoff, would be nuts. And Clemson has a chance right now at 4-1. If I think they win, I kind of iffy on the cover, but I am confident that they can do it. Because I mean, like you said, they've been dominating, and it's just not been close since that Georgia loss, and that wasn't a close loss either.
Yeah, no, they got embarrassed on national television, and they've responded very nicely since then. UMass hosts number 21 Missouri. Missouri, a 27-point favorite in this one. I said this on Tuesday, and I said this even last Thursday about Missouri's offense. Just something has not looked right with them at all this year. Defensively, they're just as good as they were last year. They're giving up a lot of points that they shouldn't. But they are also good enough to at least keep you in games. But again, Missouri's offense just hasn't looked right. That said, UMass is garbage this year. Very, very, very bad team. I think Missouri wins. I don't think they cover that 27. Like I said, that offense just hasn't looked right since week 1. I can't really put a finger on what it is exactly, but it hasn't looked right. But give me the Missouri to win. They don't cover that 27. I could see that happening, but realistically, I just don't see it actually happening.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best. This UMass team is not good whatsoever. They're 1-5, and guess what conference? Because they've lost to the same conference every single time. Which one is it?
It's the MAC.
It's the MAC. You have 5 losses against the MAC. You've lost to EMU, Toledo, Buffalo, Miami, Ohio, and Northern Illinois.
The,
That
o-
is a
the only reason I knew
terrible
that
schedule.
the only reason I knew that answer is because I keep up with Eastern Michigan football, so I knew Eastern Michigan beat the shit out of fucking UMass, so
Yep.
it has to be the MAC.
Yep. They have 5 losses to the MAC. That enough said. Give me Missouri to win. I don't think they cover because, again, like you said, they have issues on offense right now. And 27 is a very hefty number. But UMass is not a good team. Missouri is a ranked team. I think they can win by at least a couple scores, but 27 is pretty daunting if you ask me.
This game is definitely going to be challenging for game of the week here. It is the Red River rivalry. Number 18, Oklahoma, hosting number 1, Texas. Texas, a 14.5-point favorite. I believe Texas has only won it 3 times since 2000, this matchup. This is the first time this matchup is going to be in the SEC instead of the Big 12. So big change there. Obviously, I'm with Texas this whole year. I've been on Texas since before last year even started. Texas is back, man. They're the number 1 team in the country. I do not think they cover that 14.5, though. I think they win this game. But this is such a tight rivalry. It's super emotional for both teams. I just don't have a lot of faith in Oklahoma to actually get the job done this year. They pulled off the upset last year, but this Texas team is better than last year, and this Oklahoma team is also worse than last year. Give me Texas to win. Just they won't cover that 14.5. Not in. If this game wasn't as hyped up as it has always been, yeah, give me Texas to win and cover. But this game, we know how deep this rivalry runs. It's never a blowout win. Give me Texas to win. They just don't cover.
Yeah, this is it, right? Red River Rivalry SEC version 1.0. And I'm with you. This very well might be the game of the week. And I think it might give Alabama Georgia a run for its money for game of the year even right now. I mean, outside of a night game that we're going to cover later that might have potential.
Yeah,
But again,
that's why I said it might be game of the week.
it's we got 2 very very good matchups this week, and this is one of them. It's a very well known rivalry. It's transferred from the Big 12 into the SEC now. Both of them are now have their first SEC win, so they've both gotten a taste of playing SEC ball and winning. Now here they are playing a friendly foe with just new patch on the uniform. I think Texas wins. I think that 14.5 is a little disrespectful, not to Oklahoma, but to the rivalry in general. It's like you said, it is a very close game, and it's a very close rivalry. I do not see Texas winning by double digits, let alone 14 plus. But I do see Texas winning.
Yeah, to cover, obviously Texas would have to win by 15. I do not see Texas winning by 15 or more. This game, it's not obviously game of the week worthy, but I think it's going to be a very, very good game. USC hosting number 4, Penn State. Penn State, a 3.5-point favorite in this one. Look, Penn State, we've seen what they can do on the road. They went to West Virginia, who's not, necessarily a good team, but they're good enough, and it is a Power 5 team on the road, and they went down there and they kicked West Virginia's ass. Penn State's been just steamrolling teams all season long so far. This is going to be a true test for Penn State this week. USC, back-to-back losses now to Michigan and then also to Minnesota last week. Miller Moss, I still think, is the best quarterback in the Big Ten, he still makes great throws. It's just sometimes he also makes some mistakes, but that's going to happen with younger quarterbacks like him. Drew Aller, he's definitely up there for one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten as well. But Penn State runs the ball, and they run the ball very, very effectively. And Michigan and now Minnesota have both shown that USC's run defense is not good. Penn State, I think, will win this game. I think they will cover. They're going to do the exact same thing that Michigan and Minnesota did to USC, and that's just pound the fucking ball all game long, control possession, and they'll win this game. Give me Penn State to win and cover.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Penn State has been on a roll. I mean, they had a very close win against Bowling Green earlier in the season, but since then, I mean, Kent State, they beat 56-0, but Kent State is one of the worst teams in the FBS. And then they beat Illinois, who is a ranked team. They beat Illinois by 14 points. So it has not only a Big Ten game, it's a ranked game, and you win by 14 points. That's a really good win for Penn State. And then you beat another Big Ten team in UCLA, which I hate saying that, but you beat them by 16. So you have a close win, and then now you've come back and you've shown that you can win these games. And now you're sitting at Penn State. You're number 4 in the nation right now. When was the last time we saw Penn State in the top 5?
A long time ago.
And it just hit me. 3 out of the 4 top 4 teams are in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
The only one
Yeah.
that's not is number 1 Texas. And Texas deserved.
That is true.
That spot.
Oh, absolutely.
But SEC supremacy might be going out the window here with the Big Ten coming in. But as for this game, I think Penn State wins this one. It's gonna be close. I don't think they cover. I think they win this one by a field goal. But they do pound the rock. I think that USC might be able to get Drew Aller for a couple mistakes. But at the end of the day, I think Penn State's run offense is going to be more than enough to win this game.
Yeah, like I said, I think Michigan laid out the blueprint. Minnesota executed that plan. I think Penn State has the best rushing attack in the Big Ten. So yeah, I think Penn State's going to just run over USC. Number 11, Notre Dame hosts Stanford. Notre Dame, a 22.5-point favorite in this one. Notre Dame, obviously, a much better team than Stanford. Much, much better team than Stanford. Yes, they did have the loss to NIU, which just keeps looking worse and worse each week because NIU just keeps losing to bad teams. And yeah. But Notre Dame is a much better team than Stanford overall. They're much, much better defensively. Riley Leonard blows as a quarterback, but he's still a better quarterback than whatever the hell Stanford's rolling out. Give me Notre Dame to win. I don't think they cover that 22.5. I think this game is just going to be over by halftime, and Notre Dame's just going to kind of give up. And Stanford's going to slightly crawl back into it to where Notre Dame just won't cover.
Yeah, I was going to say, this game kind of gives me vibes of Oregon, Michigan State, where Oregon bettors were looking real nice up until the very end, where Michigan State inevitably scored and, covered. But I don't think Stanford is a very good team. I mean, they did upset Syracuse, but other than that, I mean, Syracuse isn't the greatest team. But, when they've played a ranked opponent, they played Clemson, and they got smoked, 40-14. And then after that, they lost 31-7. So Stanford is not playing very well, and like you said, that Notre Dame loss to NIU is looking worse and worse as time goes on. I do think they can find themselves winning this game pretty handily. I don't think they cover that 22.5.
Number 22, Pitt. I can't believe Pitt is a ranked team. I really can't. And they haven't really played anyone. Reminds me of a certain Big Ten team that's ranked. But they host Cal. Pitt, a 3-point favorite in this one. And that's where I'm just like, I can't believe Pitt is really ranked. I have to see it to believe it with Pitt once they play some actual teams. And I'm not saying Cal's a real team at all, but they're only favored by 3 over Cal. Um, and so that's where it's kind of concerning. I think Pitt will win this game. I think they'll cover that 3. Yes, Cal had a great performance against Miami, and they should have beat Miami, but ACC refs had to make sure Miami stayed undefeated. But I don't think we're going to see that problem here with Pitt because ACC refs don't really care if Pitt's undefeated or not. But I think Pitt's good enough to win this game, so give me Pitt to win, give me Pitt to cover.
Yeah, I mean, right now to me it looks like Cal is having a real hard time adjusting to the ACC, and who'd have thunk it? A team on the Pacific Coast would have had a hard time traveling and playing teams on the Atlantic Coast.
Yeah, who would have fucking thought?
Now, granted, the one team they have played from the ACC at their home was Florida State, and they lost to Florida State 14-9. You played Miami at home in California, so you forced Miami to travel across the country, and they almost beat Miami. Pitt is at home. You are now suffering for taking a deal in the ACC rather than potentially staying in the Pac-12, and now having all of these teams that have joined. Now you have to deal with the wear and tear of the traveling, on top of the actual physical wear and tear of playing the game itself. It's gonna look really rough for Cal if they have to continue doing that throughout the season. I'm gonna take Pittsburgh to win this one. It's 3 points to cover. I think they can, simply because Cal has to travel all the way across the country, and then they have to play at 3:30. So they don't have much time.
I don't think they have much time either. Number 23, Illinois hosts Purdue. Illinois, a 21.5-point favorite in this one. Illinois is good. I know they obviously dropped down to number 23 this week after losing to Penn State, and they put up a good fight against Penn State. But Purdue blows. I mean, they let Notre Dame put 66 on them. Give me Illinois to win and cover that 21.5. I think Illinois is a really, really good team this year. I don't think they're a threat in the Big Ten, but they are definitely a sleeper pick to maybe make the playoff this year. Maybe. But again, Purdue blows. Give me Illinois to cover.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Purdue absolutely blows. Notre Dame scored 66 on them. Wisconsin scored 52 on them. They won 52-6. Purdue is absolutely terrible. Give me Illinois to win. I don't know if Illinois will cover, but they could probably win by 20.
Look, if Wisconsin can blow out Purdue that bad, Illinois sure as fuck can do that. That
Illinois might score the over at that point. It's 48.5.
I'm basing Illinois covering just because Wisconsin was able to blow out Purdue that bad. Illinois is a hell of a lot better than Wisconsin. Yeah. No.
You know what? Give me Illinois to cover. I think you're right. That's a fair point. Wisconsin won by 46. Yeah, that's. I think it's a safe.
And Wisconsin without their number 1 QB did that, by the way. So
yeah, Purdue UCLA for the worst team in the Big Ten.
Yeah, it's a race to the bottom with those two teams. It really truly is. Number 14, BYU hosts Arizona. BYU just a 3-point favorite in this one. I think Arizona has not had this year that they've wanted, that they were expecting this year. The program's still, I think, headed in the right directions. They've just struggled a bit this year against some good teams, mind you. But they've also not played super great against some of the worst teams that they've played. BYU has been really surprising so far this year, and I think that's why this spread is so low. I think BYU will win this one. I think they will cover. This game is going to be close no matter what. I don't see BYU winning by more than 7. But they might surprise me because again, they embarrassed the shit out of Utah. So here we are.
Yeah, I mean that Utah
Or
game
not
for
not not
Arizona.
not Utah, not Utah. They embarrassed the shit out of Kansas State. That's my bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean Arizona did beat Utah. But I mean, granted, Utah didn't have Cam Rising in that game, so I'm taking that one with a grain of salt. But you did do it. So, but BYU is playing by far and away some of the best ball in the Big 12 right now, and it's weird to say. I mean, like you said, they manhandled Kansas State, and that was just it was a barn burner for them. They won 38-9. It's a 29-point win, and then you follow it up by a close win at Baylor. So now you have a chance to really bounce back and get a statement win to continue your undefeated season. And as of late, we've seen it's not too easy to keep that undefeated season. Even against some of these, lesser teams. It could happen. College football chaos can hit anyone, but I think BYU wins, and I do see them covering that 3.
Number 5, Georgia hosts Mississippi State. Georgia a 34-point favorite in this one. Look, Mississippi State is probably they might be worse than UCLA and Purdue. They honestly might be worse than both of those teams. And we know Georgia's good. Yes, they have the loss to Bama, and that loss doesn't look good because Bama lost to Vandy. But Mississippi State is really, 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 really bad. They lost to Toledo, by the way. That's how bad Mississippi State is. Georgia, we know they're a good team though, and they're obviously going to try to keep bouncing back to where they were after losing to Bama. Give me Georgia to win. Give me Georgia to cover that 34. Hell, they might hit the total of 54.5 themselves.
Yeah, you lose to Toledo, and not just lose to Toledo, you get embarrassed by Toledo at home, 41-17. Yeah, Mississippi State. You're an SEC team who just got manhandled by a MAC team at home.
Time to send Mississippi State to the Sun Belt.
Yeah, this like that's that's all I can say about that. It's absolutely embarrassing. I mean, you lost to Florida after that embarrassing loss to Toledo. You lost to Florida by 17. 17 points to Florida. It's fucking embarrassing. Like, come on. This is ridiculous. Mississippi State is not a good team. Give me Georgia to win, cover, and they might score the over themselves.
Number 8, Tennessee hosts Florida. Tennessee a 15-point favorite in this one. Tennessee obviously coming off a tough upset loss against Arkansas, who I think we kind of underrated this year. Florida's been playing better than I think expected. They're still not a good team by far. I think Tennessee wins this one. I don't think they cover, though, just because Arkansas kind of exposed a lot of flaws with Tennessee's team, especially now that Tennessee actually finally played a real team. I think, also, too, Florida has been playing a lot better than we expected. And Tennessee's still a good team, don't get me wrong. I think their offense is still very elite. I think Florida's going to take some of what Arkansas did and put it into their game plan and keep it close with Tennessee to the end. But give me Tennessee to win, just they won't cover.
Yeah, I'm with you all the way. I have Tennessee to win, but they will not cover. Arkansas really, really exposed them last week. It was, I mean, you have one of the highest scoring offenses, if not the highest scoring offense statistically in the nation at the time, or going into the game. And you only put up 14 points. You just went to Oklahoma and beat them by 10. And you come back, and then you go to Arkansas and you lose by 5. You can only score 14 points. Arkansas did something. And if teams, like we said with The USC, if teams study the tape of their losses, you're gonna find the recipe to beat them. And I don't think Florida has the capability to beat Tennessee, but Tennessee will not cover.
Yeah, I just don't think Florida's as good as Arkansas personally. Maybe that's my own personal bias because I don't like Florida, but you know. This is the other game that I think will challenge for game of the week here, and maybe the one after this one too that we'll cover. But number 3 Oregon hosts number 2 Ohio State. Ohio State just a 3-point favorite on the road here. Look, Oregon's not a tough place to play in, so you can throw that home field advantage out the window. Oregon is just not a tough place to play in at all. Ohio State's played in whiteouts before, and they've played at the big house before, and a lot of the guys on this team have played in those environments. Oregon's a cakewalk in terms of home field advantage, but Oregon's good. They've come, obviously they struggled the first 2 weeks, but they've really come into form these last few games now, and Ohio State hasn't really played anyone. I mean, their best win is against Michigan State, if that tells you how easy Ohio State's schedule has been this year. No, actually, their best win's Iowa, I would say, because at least Iowa has somewhat of a pulse, at least on the defensive side of the ball. But either way, Ohio State really has had a very easy cakewalk of a schedule. Oregon, for the most part, has. I mean, they did play Boise State, and they barely beat them, but they did beat them, and now we know Boise State's a really good team anyways, so that's a good win for Oregon there. This is going to be a tough game. It's going to be tight all the way through. I think the total's definitely going to fucking hit. I mean, just because these offenses are super high power. But give me Oregon to get the upset here. I think this game could go either way. I just like Oregon a lot, and I also hate Ohio State just as a personal bias. But I think Oregon, given that they've at least played somewhat better opponents than Ohio State has, they have a little bit of an edge. And Oregon wants to introduce themselves to the Big Ten. No better team to do it against than Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Oregon's played now 2 games in the Big Ten. One of them being, a former Pac-12 rival in UCLA. The other being a long-time Big Ten associate in good old Sparty out of East Lansing. And they beat the brakes off of them. And granted, that was a game Oregon should win, and they did win by a very wide margin. Ohio State is by far and away the best team Oregon has faced to date.
And like
Boise State.
And likewise, Oregon is the best team that Ohio State has faced to date.
Exactly. But again, like I said, that's not to discredit Boise State. Boise State is a very, very, very good football team, and still, right now, their only loss is to Oregon. And they have the best running back in the country, but right now, like you said, that win for Oregon, despite it only being a 3-point win against at the time unranked Boise State, I think that win right there for Oregon is better than any win on Ohio State's schedule, including that Iowa win.
I would agree. I would 100% agree.
This Boise State team is legitimate. They have, like I said, the best running back in the nation.
Maybe in college football history, too.
I mean, we'll see about that, but he's phenomenal pace right now. It's absolutely ridiculous. But and Oregon won. Oregon won that game. Granted, he ran all over the field on them. But Oregon did enough to win that game. Even though, Ashton Jeanty ran for almost 200 yards in that game. He ran for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game. And Oregon won that one. If you would have told me that a team had a player run for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns, I would have said, yeah, that team won that game, right? Nope, Oregon did. And that's why they're still sitting here, undefeated, going into this game against Ohio State. And I'm going to take Oregon to win and cover. I do agree Oregon is not a tough place to play comparatively for Ohio State because Penn State in a whiteout, one of the hardest places to play in the nation. The Big House and, the game is one of the hardest places to play. And I mean, Columbus, even in the game, it's a home field advantage majorly for Ohio State. So they know what a true home field advantage is like. But like I said, for Oregon, how Ohio State is the best team that they've played. Oregon is by far and away the best team that they've played, and they might play till the end of the year in the Big Ten championship, which might be a potential rematch of this game.
Yeah, I think it will be a rematch of this game in the Big Ten because
Barring a Penn State upset.
yes, barring something happening with Penn State, they're a wild card for the Big Ten for sure. But yeah, this is going to be a really really good game. Might be game of the week, but we'll just have to see. This other game I think could have some potential to be game of the week because last year it was a very entertaining game because the offenses were just phenomenal and nobody played defense, and I think we're going to see the same game this year. Number 13, LSU hosts number 9, Ole Miss. Ole Miss, a 3.5-point favorite in this game. I like Ole Miss a lot more than I like LSU. A lot more than I like LSU. Ole Miss is really, really good. Jackson Dart, he hasn't had the best last 2 weeks, especially with that loss against Kentucky, and then last week he just didn't really look like himself either. But LSU's defense is not good. Their offense is good, and Ole Miss's defense is also not good. This is going to be a ridiculously high-scoring game. Vegas seems to agree with a 61.5-point total. I'm taking the total all day, especially given the way that these two teams played last year. It's going to be a ridiculously high-scoring affair. Give me Ole Miss to win. Give me Ole Miss to cover, though.
Yeah, this game is giving me vibes of the ACC After Dark game we had between Miami and Cal last week, right? I mean, this has SEC After Dark written all over it. Defense might just not even show up. Like that, I'm with you. That total, I'm hammering that total right now. I think this game has potential to hit 100 total in scoring. And I mean, that's just like you said. Last year they put on a show in this game. This year, I think.
All right, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but Celebrini just scored his first goal in the first goal of the Sharks season.
Oh yeah, good for him. It's good to see the first pick score a goal. Anyway, but yeah, I think Ole Miss will win this game. It will be the shootout of the week in terms of offense. Like I said, I think it might hit 100 points total, and I don't know if Ole Miss will cover that 3.5 just because of how close I think this game will be. I think it'll be a 1-2 point game by the end.
Yes, sorry, I had to cut you off on that because important Sharks news. But anyways, yeah, I think this is going to be at least close to 100 points by the end of the game total scored between these two teams. I believe it was like 96 or 97 total points last year, so I can definitely see that happening again. The only difference really is that there's no Jaden Daniels this year for LSU, and obviously like all that receiving core is gone as well. But LSU still has elite receivers. They always have elite receivers. So yeah. West Virginia hosts number 11 Iowa State. Iowa State just a 3-point favorite in this one. Iowa State has been really really good this year. They've definitely surprised a lot of people. The way they've been playing, the way they've handled good teams that they've faced. West Virginia, like I said, they're better. They're a better team this year. They're still not great, but they're a tough team to play against. And West Virginia is not necessarily known as a tough home field advantage for an opposing team to play against, but I don't think that's really going to matter with this Iowa State team. I think Iowa State wins, they cover. Iowa State has just been really, really good. They can run the ball very well. They can pass very well. The defense has been very, very effective. And this is one of the weaker opponents that Iowa State has faced this year. So I think they will have no problem winning this game.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at last week when West Virginia beat Oklahoma State. I was like, okay, they might be better, but Oklahoma State's now 3-3 on the year, so that win isn't really as impressive to me anymore. But like I said, Iowa State's 5-0, and right now, when I was going over BYU, I said, to be undefeated at this point in the season it's a pretty impressive feat. I mean, we've seen Georgia lose, and then we see Alabama lose the next week to Vandy. We also see Tennessee and Mizzou go down the same week, and it's just we've seen chaos all over the place. And this is another game where like I could see it happening. I think Iowa State will play better ball and they will win this game. I It's a 3-point cover. I think they do cover.
Yeah, I think they could cover it no problem. It's just how much are they going to cover it by, right? I mean, we know West Virginia, what they are. They aren't great, but they aren't bad either. And like I said, Iowa State, they're just effective offensively and defensively, but very much so offensively. Colorado hosts number 18 Kansas State in some Big 12 after dark. Kansas State just a 3.5-point favorite in this one. This is the week that Colorado gets exposed, man. Now look, Kansas State, while they're good, they're fighting for their lives right now in the Big 12. I cannot trust Colorado. I mean, they've had a pretty easy schedule to start the year. They got manhandled by Nebraska, of course, and after that and they also struggled against a pretty bad Baylor team as well. So I think Kansas State just a much better team overall, better QB play, definitely better QB play. I don't like Shedeur. He's not good. He's overrated as fuck, but whatever. Travis Hunter now, he's great. Don't get me wrong there, especially because he can play both sides of the ball and he does it very, very well. But I just think Kansas State overall a better team, a much, much better coached team as well. Give me Kansas State to win and to cover that 3.5.
I'm with you. I think right now Colorado might be 4-1, but that loss to Nebraska tells me more about who Colorado is as a team than any of the 4 wins that they have. And this game against Kansas State is really going to prove who Colorado is. If they want to be that team that they're all talking themselves up to be, like they want to compete for the Big 12 and they might want to steal a playoff spot in the expanded playoffs now, you got to win this game. You got to put your money where your mouth is and you got to win this game. Especially because it's at home against a ranked opponent. If Dion and them boys can find a way to win this game, I might be changing my tune against Colorado. But as of right now, I'm taking Kansas State to win and cover.
Yeah, this is a prove it game for Colorado. I think if they can win this game, I'll shut up about them. But for now, I'll still talk shit about Colorado because I think they are not that good. Again, Kansas State, a little bit overrated. We thought they would be, one of the top teams in the Big 12 this year, and they haven't performed like it. They're still, 4-1, but they just haven't performed like a top 2 team in the Big 12 this year. So this for Kansas State, I think, is a prove-it game as well, to be like, okay, look, we're facing a team that's 4-1 on the road. They're super hyped up by the media. Let's go out there and punch them in the fucking mouth. If they can do that, they win this game, no problem. Lastly, Hawaii hosts number 17, Boise State. Boise State, a 20.5-point favorite in this one. Boise State obviously has the number 1 running back in the country. And the way he stands in the backfield, he doesn't get into a stance. He just stands there like he's Michael Myers, like, yep, I'm about to fucking score on these motherfuckers on this play right here. And next thing you know, he's gone. Absolutely incredible stuff. I've never seen a running back like him watching college football, ever. Boise State's defense blows, but I don't think it's going to really matter against this Hawaii offense that is not that good. Boise State's going to win. They're going to cover, no problem. Genty might hit the total on points. by himself. That's how good he is. Almost 60 and a half is kind of a big ask to ask out a running back. That's kind of asking for
So
10,
that's almost 10
10
touchdowns,
touchdowns.
homeboy.
No, he ain't doing that. We've seen him put up 6, so I think that's definitely possible.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is a good opportunity for Boise State to continue their pace, right? I mean, like you said, best running back in the nation by far, and he's put up 6 touchdowns in a game. Granted, I don't think he can do that against Hawaii, but if he does, I mean, he scored 3 against Oregon. He scored 4 against Washington State. Like, he has the potential to go and just kill motherfuckers in the field. Like, I mean, like I said, we're going over the Oregon game. He ran for 192 yards against Oregon, averaged 7.7 yards a carry with 3 touchdowns and a long of 70 yards against Oregon. And they almost won that game. This Boise State team is not to be fucked around with. They very well might be the group of 5 representative in the playoffs this year. And they are playing like they want it. So give me Boise State to win. Give me them to cover, and Genty's going to make them cover by himself.
But he put up 6 touchdowns against Georgia Southern. Hawaii is pretty fucking bad too. So yeah, Georgia Southern's actually a better team record-wise than Hawaii. So I think he can put up 6 touchdowns against Hawaii. It's just, will he actually have the opportunity to do so? But yeah. Anyways, guys, that is going to wrap us up. Obviously, Tuesday's episode will obviously talk all the football action, going over all of that. We're also going to talk more MLB playoffs, of course, because by Tuesday we'll have the championship series set up for both the AL and the NL, and we might actually have a game or two underway at that point as well. So anyways, guys, with that said, rate, review, subscribe, help us out. Let us know what you guys want to see more of course. Check out our YouTube page. Follow us on X or Twitter at The Andrew and Ian Show. Thank you guys again so much for listening, and we will see you guys on Tuesday.